Hi everyone. Okay, right. Did you know that the Shogun TV program actually purposely got something wrong? Any idea what it is? Now, we found this out. I'll tell you what it is in a minute, so stay with me. We found this out from the amazing interview we had with the professor from Kyoto, Frederick, and he told us about the way they position their swords. But he did make a small mistake in the interview, which I'm going to correct now, and he's asked me to correct it for him because it was just a language mistake. But if you haven't seen that interview, it's over on the Shogunate's channel, and it's amazing. It's really good. We get some really, really good behind the scenes information for the TV program Shogun. The link will be below. Right, okay, so what they did on purposely wrong was make the sword styles that they are wearing Edo period instead of Sengoku period. Now, there's a couple of different things here, but I'm going to go with what Frederick's told me to say, or told me to show you. What Frederick said was he wanted them to be in the vertical style instead of the horizontal style. So if you look at the swords in this picture, which is a picture from a late 16th century screen in Osaka, the swords are almost vertical. However, in the Edo period, the swords tended to be more horizontal. This was to give them the brash, cool, look of, hey, look at me, I'm a fighter, this is thingy. Whereas in the Sengoku period, it's like, let's get all these swords out of the way. They're long. So you've got to remember, in the Sengoku period, you're dealing with a lot with tachi, or with longer swords in general. They become shorter as the Sengoku period gets later, and they become, again, shorter into the Edo period. But I think they then get longer again and heavier when cutting straw is popular. So we have different lengths throughout Japanese history. But in the TV show, they wanted, or Frederick wanted them to have the handles further up vertically, but the powers that be said, we're doing a lot for historical accuracy, but we would like it to really have the swords horizontal, so they give it that meaner warrior look. So a modern audience loves the idea of these swords horizontal, so as though someone's looking for a fight. This also leads on to the subject of saya ate, which is basically to hit someone with your sword, or to hit the sword. And the idea is, if you hit your sword on something, you've got to immediately apologize, or a fight will ensue. So you don't ever hit your sword against someone else's. But they did used to do this to provoke fights and to get into trouble, so they could test their sword skills legally, I suppose. However, this does bring about... Oh, so first of all, let me talk about Frederick's mistake. He said he'd like to apologize and just say to you guys, he meant horizontal instead of vertical, and vertical instead of horizontal. So he said in the Sengoku period, everybody had their swords horizontal, and in the Edo period, they had them vertical. It's actually reverse, but we can forgive Frederick this. We can forgive him because he was thinking and speaking in 3 different languages. So he was going through his own native tongue, through Japanese, and through English. So we can forgive him that, because his English was excellent, which is always a pleasure to speak to someone who's well educated, trilingual at least, and trilingual to a high level. So there you go, guys. Now, it does open up lots of questions, this. It actually opens up a lot more questions than you think. One of them is, if this is true, and the Sengoku period, they had most of their swords up high, does this not totally change Iaido, or Iaijutsu? So when we read old scrolls saying you use Iai, especially Iai, is popular. I think I can broadly say Iai is popular early Edo. It then becomes Iaijutsu or Iaijutsu, and then Iaido becomes more popular, and then we get the Meiji Restoration and Iaido, and everything's very, very this. But if your sword's up here, it's a different draw, isn't it? It's a very different draw. Now, people would say, oh, when you're ready for a fight, you put the sword down, which is, yes, absolutely. You can put the sword down, draw it, and stand ready in tachi I think it is basically you're waiting to stand off each other. But Iai is literally just draw and go. So the idea is, somebody bangs you, you're just going to go straight away, or somebody's coming to attack you. You don't have to mess around with this, you just draw. Now, I've never seen an Iaido documentation that says pull it up. In fact, the earliest possible Iaido reference, for me anyway, that I found, has it tachi style, blade with the edge down, and it's draw across and pull out. The idea of this 45-degree triangle, to me, seems extremely late Edo and extremely early Meiji period stuff. It just doesn't seem to follow what the context of Sengoku period life. And another thing people say is, oh, if it's the Sengoku period, they must be fighting in armor. No, not really. No, because they still had street fights. In fact, Sengoku period was probably quite a dangerous place to be. So this idea that if it's Sengoku martial arts, it must be armoured. If it's Edo period martial arts, it must be not armoured, is not true. Yes, they did have urban warfare, urban fights in the Sengoku period. So, and another question it brings up is, I was always told, and now I think I am wrong, maybe Frederick can comment on this, I don't know, but I was always told that higher ranking people had their sword in the upward style, whereas lower ranking people had it down to show they were fighting samurai, and that you would move your sword up and down depending on how you wanted to be perceived. Now Frederick has given this new information about Sengoku period art, showing us that mainly the majority of people wore their swords up in the styles. The Japanese terms I've put up there, but I'm just keeping it very clear and plain because it's up and horizontal. So they're the types of questions we got. Apart from that, guys, what do you think? Did you enjoy the Shogunate, or did you enjoy my interview on the Shogunate's channel? If you've not seen it, you should go and watch it. Did you pre-order Frederick's book, In the Service of the Shogun, which you definitely should pre-order because it's amazing? And have you, the most important question of all, have you pre-ordered the Book of Bushido on audiobook? That's very important. Right, guys, thank you very much to Frederick. Amazing thank yous to the Shogunate, for Nick from the Shogunate. And let's keep digging into that samurai history.